You're watching WEDU. This special presentation was produced in high definition by WEDU, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Sarasota.
Major funding for WEDU Artsplus is provided through the Greater Cincinnati Foundation by an arts-loving donor who encourages others to support your PBS station, WEDU. Funding is also provided by the S.L. Gimbel Foundation. In this edition of WEDU Artsplus, a local painter finds inspiration from jazz music.
I love jazz, and the church and the jazz always had no conflict, so I chose the jazz.
Ask Madeline Albright to explain the art of diplomacy.
They're special, and they have great foreign policy stories and very great memories with them, but I'm very glad to share them.
Intimate portraits of the greatest generation.
I get to give back through art by preserving history.
And take an inside look at the puppets of Warhorse.
Within minutes, this sort of almost skeletal horse becomes extremely real.
It's all coming up next on WEDU Artsplus. Hello, I'm Delia Colon, and this is WEDU Artsplus. James Vann feels strongly about preserving the legacy of jazz music. And for this lifelong painter, there's no better place to do so than on canvas, and neckties, and cigar box purses, and any other surface the self-described neo-cubist can get his paintbrush on. See for yourself as we visit Vann's home studio in Valrico.
I want you to look at it and say, I can feel the beat. I want you to look at it and say, I see the beat. You know, I want to dance, you know, and I want to keep jazz alive. My name is James Vann, and I'm a fine arts painter. I am a neo-cubist artist, neo meaning new, and cubism is pretty much geometric shapes. So I'm trying to take the geometric shapes and combine them to make something new and something that you can understand, not abstract. My paintings generally depict my life, which is church. I grew up in the church, but I don't have many paintings of the church, just a couple. I love jazz, and the church and the jazz always had no conflict, so I pretty much chose the jazz. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and my dad was a minister at the time, and he was a pastor of a church that we had like an 8-piece band, instrumental band that played gospel music. My dad sent me, my older brother, and my 2 sisters to music school so we could play in the band. I played trumpet, my sister played alto sax, my older sister, my younger sister played piano, my brother played trumpet, and he was very active in the jazz community. My older brother used to play at all the spots. My brother used to sneak me into places like Birdland at a young age. I just fell in love with the music, and when I was in the club with him, I had to sit in the back, some non-drinking section, and I would sketch on the napkins of the musicians that I would see. You know, I always had a pencil, I would always sketch. And that's how I believe was my early calling. This is what I wanted to do. I became a correction officer in 1969, and I retired in 1989. I was, at the time, working nights and going to art school during the day. And I gave an exhibit in Brownsville, Brooklyn, in a housing project, community center. And I invited some of the officials from correction who also showed up. The next week, they pulled me out of the jails and promoted me to art director for the Department of Correction. That was very interesting because the inmates weren't allowed to have paints and brushes and things like that. But they were so creative. They would take M&Ms, put them in water, melt them down. That's where they get their color from. They would take hair from the barber shop, and they didn't have glue, so they used toothpaste, you know, to make their brushes. Then I became the liaison for inmate art to Soho galleries so the artwork could be seen. So some of your toughest guys, including serial killer Michael Berkowitz, son of Sam. I played ping pong with him and also taught him art. It's like music calms a savage beast, so does art. In 2010, I received commission to paint the 6 murals for the District 3 Tampa Police Department on 22nd Street in Tampa. It's my gallery. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No admission, you know, and you don't have to dress. So that's my baby. The first mural is dedicated to the black foot patrolmen that were in the 50s. Black officers could not ride the patrol cars with the white officers. They had to stand in the back of roll call. They could not arrest white people. That mural is dedicated to them. The second mural was dedicated to the church. I sort of had fun with that because I made a little church and I made a whole lot of people, because in my past, the churches were packed with no air conditioning, you know, the church fan and stuff like that, and too many people for, I know it's against the fire code, it had to be. So the first two now, the police, the Black Foot Patrol, I was a correction officer, so I was the police. The church, my dad, that ties in with that. So when I'm painting these murals, this is me. It's not them, this is us that I'm painting. Well, expect to see my favorite, which is the jazz mural. People come here, they eat lunch, you know, and we talk about jazz. Cannonball was born here in Tampa. You know, Ray Charles did a lot of things here in Tampa. Ella Fitzgerald wrote a Tisket a Tasket here in Tampa. You know, so a lot of jazz, a lot of musicians, you know, came out of Tampa. I mix up the variety of music that I play when I'm painting. It all depends on if I want to paint fast, or I want to paint slow, I go with the music. I get the titles of my finished art from the music, you know? So it's part of my background in the music, although I don't play an instrument anymore, but the beat is here, the beat is in me, and the beat is on the canvas.
To see more of Vann's work, visit jamesvannart.com. U.S.